Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Steve again. Time for another hard rock and heavy metal update. Just kind of jump in. First up, I showed this one when I bought it. I got this at Albums before the owner passed away. I think Billy Hurst was with me when I got this, but this is Love Gun, Bad Love for Sale. This is a private press, one of the Columbus, Ohio bands. Um, Pretty good glam. Definitely B grade. I can kind of see why they didn't shoot up and become a big name band, but still some good stuff here. I really like this. Every time I pull it out, I end up giving it like two or three spins. So if you run across it, definitely worth picking up. I think I saw Rockadrome had a copy of it, but try to get it for a good price. I think I paid like $20 for it, which I think it's worth it. The few that I've seen on sale are $40, $50, unless you're just a really big fan of that Columbus scene, or you're just a really, really big into glam metal, or a private press collector. I don't think I would pay that much for it, but it's still one I like pulling out from time to time. Next up, this was just released. I should have researched what I was buying. This is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I just didn't realize I already had this. So Havok just released the Point of No Return EP. I thought it was a new EP because I had never seen the actual album art before. So this was initially only released on CD. I think this was 2011 or 12. Yeah, it doesn't say. I think it was 2012 when this was originally released. And I spun this like three or four times. It's fantastic. Like on the third spin, I'm like, man, I'm pretty sure I've heard these covers already. And I pulled up my Back on Black pressings from 2014 or 15, whenever they did those. And most of their EPs were added on to the end of those of their full length albums, and that's what happened. So I actually already had this on one of those LPs, but this is the first time it's been released as a standalone EP. I still think it's worth grabbing. Two original songs that are both fantastic. Then they cover Arise from Sepultura, an all-time favorite, and then Postmortem and Raining Blood from Slayer. They do a fantastic job. This is one I highly recommend picking up, unless you have those 2014 pressings of all their albums, in which case you already have it like I did. I'm still going to keep it. Havok is one of my favorite bands. I think they are one of the best of the, whether you call it new wave of traditional thrash or neo thrash, or they're just a fantastic thrash band and one of the best bands out doing it that are doing it right now. Next up, actually, I'm going to save that one till later. Next up, I saw on YouTube or Facebook that I can't think of the name of the label. Sub Pop was repressing the EP, the Smell the Magic EP from L7. I love L7. At least this in their first three albums. I haven't heard any of their modern albums. Bricks Are Heavy is the last one that I ever owned, and it's one of my favorite albums of the 90s. I just think these guys, gals, are fantastic. They repressed the EP or re-released the EP with three additional tracks to make it a full length. Definitely worth picking up. This is the Loser Edition, which is pretty nice. I don't remember what color it is off the top of my head. I'm not going to pull it out. But so one thing that Sub Pop does is if you order it through them, you can order what's called the Loser Edition. That's usually going to be some kind of colored vinyl, whereas if you order it online, it's usually going to be black vinyl. So this is a Loser Edition. They don't really make them more valuable or anything. They usually, most of their releases, they release so many of them that they just kind of flood the market. But still, it sounds fantastic. It's an awesome EP and definitely worth having. Next up, actually, I'm probably gonna have a couple of these to show. I got on a Loudness kick the other day. I had three or four upgrade albums. I had all of these already, but these are in much better condition. I ran across a stack of Loudness at one of my local stores for really good prices, and everything was near mint. So this is Loudness in Tokyo, their first live album. This was '84. I believe. Of course, it doesn't say anywhere on the back. So it was recorded in September of '83, and I believe it was released in '84. but it's material from their first few albums, and it's just fantastic. Not only is Loudness one of my favorite Japanese metal bands, they're just one of my favorite metal bands. I like everything that they've ever released, and I'm always looking to add to the collection. Next up, so this one, so I didn't realize, I thought this was a new album, and the album of theirs that I bought 2 years ago was their original album from the 90s, and I got them backwards. So this is the band Love War, and this is Soak Your Brain. So I can't remember the name of the most recent album, but it came out on Rocks about 2 years ago, and it's kind of this hybrid. There's a little bit of King's X in there, mixed with a little bit of Alice in Chains, mixed with a little bit of Living Colour, and I really, really liked it. I was really blown away by how much I liked the album. So when I saw that this was being pressed on vinyl, I was like, oh, I got to get that, thinking that this was a new album. It turns out this is the album from 93, I believe. Does it say? Yeah, 93. And this is basically just King's X Worship, and it's not done very good. It's just, it's a good album. And had I heard this first before the most recent one, I would have probably said this is a pretty good album. But their newest album is so good that it's hard to listen to this one. If you're a fan of, I don't know, if you're a fan of King's X, maybe grab it. But they don't do it as good as King's X, whereas the hybrid that they did on the most recent CD, or out, I believe it's CD only, they did a phenomenal job. Next up, so in the last video I showed some Exodus and Forbidden, so I went ahead and spun these a few times. These were the other two, the other albums from each of those bands that I picked up at the same time. So this is Fabulous Disaster from Exodus. Just a fantastic album, another favorite of mine. Exodus really hasn't had a bad album. Even some of their the mid-career stuff, which I'll get into in a sec, I that a lot of people don't like, I really like. So fantastic album. This one sounded pretty good. Again, it's real fuzzy again. I don't have an original to compare it to, so I don't know if the original was fuzzy too, but still happy to have it. Eventually I'll find an original pressing of it. And then, of course, the second one from Forbidden. Now, like I said, the first Forbidden album didn't sound that good. This one sounds a little bit better. I had to clean it in the cleaning machine 3 times to get it to sound that way. But it didn't have any of the issues that I had with the debut album. So, like I said, finding original pressings of this, or the represses, the European represses from a few years ago, if you find them, they're super expensive. Because of that, I would still say get these, because they're fantastic albums, and they're must-haves in any metalhead's collection. But they're just not the best quality. Next up, in the last video, we talked about Exodus quite a bit, and somebody left in the comments that they love the Rob Dukes era of Exodus. And I realized I hadn't listened to any of those albums in probably 5 or 6 years. So I went ahead and pulled out my favorite of the Rob Dukes era, which is Shovelheaded Kill Machine, and gave this a few spins. I love this album. Again, Exodus hasn't had a bad spot for me. I've loved everything that they've released, and looking forward to see what's next from them. Next up, again, Loudness. This is Disillusion. Just another fantastic. This is one of their Japanese language albums. I believe this one only got a Japanese and UK pressing, if I remember correctly. And then Dwayne showed that there was a UK pressing with English lyrics to these songs. So I'm really kind of looking forward to finding that as well. Just curious to see how that sounds. I've always loved this album cover, the painting on this album, though. Fantastic album. Just running through these. I don't want this to last forever. Next up, Jaguar. I've had a beat up copy of this for years. It's just kind of worn out because I've just played it to death. High Roller just did a repress of this, and they did a fantastic job. This one is the silver vinyl. version, and it came with a huge booklet, like 3 posters. Just a high roller, killing it again. Just fantastic new wave of British heavy metal. That's the only album of theirs I really like. I've got their second album as well, and it's just okay. I do play it from time to time, usually after spinning this one. This one also came with their 7-inch as well. So definitely worth grabbing those before they sell out here in the U.S. I'm sure they won't be around that long, because that's a pretty popular album. Next up, this one surprised me simply because I would have swore to you that I had a copy of this, but I found this super clean German pressing and didn't want to pass it up. And I got home and listened to it and realized I only recognized 1 song on the entire, or maybe 2 songs on the entire album. And I looked, and not only do I not have copies of this in any format, I don't think I've ever heard the full album before, which completely blows me away, because I remember this, very vividly remember the videos from this album. But this is the 1988 classic Blow Up Your Video. I have a feeling I know how I missed out. I mean, I was in Germany. Funny that this is a German pressing. But I was in Germany at the time, and there was always a bit of a lag between what music was available on the military base that we lived on, and what was playing on the radio and what was on MTV and whatnot. We didn't have MTV there in Germany, but so I do very much remember the song Blow Up Your Video from the radio. And that just may be why I didn't have a copy of it on cassette back then. But I couldn't believe I don't know how this has to be the only AC/DC that I've never owned before. But so I gave that 6 or 7 spins. Really enjoyed it. I'm not going to get into that. Showed that before. So this one, these are finally coming down in price. I actually picked this one up used through a buddy like a year ago. They were selling for like $80 at the time, and he hooked me up for like $38, which was what they were going for brand new. But this is 2 Megatherion from Celtic Frost. This was, oh man, when this came out, when was this? 80? Does it even say? I didn't hear this until like 90 or 91. And I remember thinking, this is some of the heaviest stuff that I've ever heard in my life. I would get into death metal and stuff shortly after that, maybe 91-ish, maybe 90, maybe the same year. But this thing just blew me away when I bought it, or when I ran across a copy of it. And I played it nonstop. When I moved to Japan, when I got my mini disc player, I had a mini disc player in my car as well. This was one of the first albums that I transferred to mini disc to have in the car. Now, since then, this is actually no longer one of my favorites. I shouldn't say it's not one of my favorites, but of Celtic Frost, Into the Pandemonium, Vanity Nemesis, and then what's the most recent, the last album that they did, have become my favorite. Monotheist are probably my favorite albums, and I still pull this one out from time to time, but again, I didn't have this in any, or I shouldn't say any format. I have the CDs, but I had never owned this on vinyl, so I was really happy to get a hold of this. And now the prices have come down. All these represses from 2017 sold out really quick. They were like $37 new, and people were selling for $80-$90 left and right. And now they're starting to show up. So I happened to be in one of my local record stores a few days ago, and they had Vanity Nemesis. And they did a phenomenal job on these. So this one on 2 Megatherion, they have the full album is on album 1. Album 2 is the Emperor's Return EP, and then a couple additional tracks. And then on this one, you've got Vanity Nemesis on the first 3 sides. And then side 4, you've got their cover of Heroes, which that's, if you know me, I'm a huge David Bowie fan. Heroes is my favorite David Bowie song. I love their cover. And A Descent into Babylon, which are both off of the Wine in My Hand EP. What's also cool about these is, and it's kind of what the price is, they say 180 gram. They feel like they're 200 gram vinyl. It comes with 2 or 3 posters. It comes with a huge 10-inch book that's probably about this thick. They both do. They just did a fantastic job with these reissues. The only thing that pisses me off about the reissues is that they didn't do Cold Lake. I get they're trying to distance themselves from that. It's a fantastic album. I get that, you know, the whole image and the look of they should have redid it. Anyway, next up, I talked about Acid Rain's debut full length being on back order. It finally came in. Gave that 3 or 4 spins. Just killer UK thrash. Highly recommend picking up the Acid Rain stuff. This one was a gift from Kevin, Metal War God, a while back. I'm pretty sure I showed it, but I pulled it out and gave it a few more spins. This band is fantastic. Female fronted new wave of traditional metal band. This is Lady Beast, Vicious Breed. They have another album that just came out. I'm really digging these guys, and I'm going to be... I believe they've got 4 albums now. I'm going to be on the look for the rest of them. And then to finish it up, we've got Kill for Thrills. This is a really killer sleaze album. I really like these guys. So on vocals and lead guitar, you've got Gilby Clarke, who would leave this band, go on and play with Guns N' Roses. Todd Muscat went to... Oh man, I'm drawing a blank. He went to one of the other big... Who was it? I've got LA Guns in my head. It's not LA Guns, but he went to another one of the sleaze bands. I can even picture their album cover, and I can't think of the name of the band. And then you've got Jason Nesmith, who's the son of one of the Beatles, or one of the Monkees. Is it Dave? Is it Dave Nesmith? Doesn't matter. Son of one of the Monkees. Really killer album, though. The band basically just fell apart after this. I guess they had an EP that did really well. A couple of these guys, who is it? I think David Scott and Gilby Clarke. I could be wrong. I know Gilby was part of Candy, though, who also did one album. Then they did this one, and then Gilby left and went to Guns N' Roses. I've actually got a signed copy of this on CD too, that I bought like 5 or 6 years ago. And then I ran across this for like $8. You can get this for really cheap. This is one I definitely recommend grabbing. And that's it, guys. Take care. Stay safe. Subscribe. I'll see you soon. Later.